Welcome back to the Concussion Protocol Podcast. I'm your host, Chase. This is your other host, Chance. Man, we had an interesting week. I feel like I say that every week, but we really had an interesting week this week. Round 2 of the playoffs. Some might have seen this coming because of last season with nobody with a bye winning last season, but this season, almost the same exact thing, except Indiana. Indiana, who is just exceptional at everything, breaks that little streak of home bye teams, or sorry, not home bye teams, but first round bye teams losing in their first game in the playoffs. Man, what did you think of this week, Chance?
I mean, you and I, before the playoffs started, we said, hey, that top 4, we like those 4 teams. And now, I don't know anything. We should not, I mean, why do we even have a podcast? Chase, we don't know anything at all. And to be fair, I don't think anybody expected this weekend to result the way it did. That was interesting, surprising.
I was thoroughly shocked at most of these turnouts. I mean, so I actually am one of the people that really did see a lot in Miami, and I thought that Miami would get past Ohio State. I did not see Miami or Ole Miss getting past Georgia. I truly was like, Georgia is the roadblock they can't get past. I thought Georgia was going to win the Natty this year. It was going to be Georgia and maybe Texas Tech, and they both were embarrassed this week. Georgia less so embarrassed, more so just another year of dominance where they just didn't get it done when it needed to be done. And Texas Tech, that was a true embarrassment. I still don't know what happened. I got up early to watch that game, and I was thoroughly disappointed I even got up and watched it because I was like, what did I just waste my time watching this offense after putting up like 70 bombs, 50 bombs, 30 bombs on every team they played this year, except ASU because their quarterback was out and a ton of other people. And they lay an absolute egg, no pun intended, against the Ducks. I knew the Ducks were good. I didn't know they were that good. I don't know what to say about the first round buys, man. I think we need to change the schedule a bit. This has been crazy how first round buy teams are now 1-7 the last 2 years. That's crazy to me because that's not how that works usually in the NFL. There's definitely some upsets, but that's definitely crazy to see. I don't know. It's been even the bowl games were pretty surprising to me. Arizona. Well, I've been an Arizona sports fan, not U of A, but Arizona overall sports fan my whole life. And somehow, I was even shocked to see them choke under the big lights. Like they didn't dominate every team, but their defense had been dominant all year. And then they go up against Kevin Jennings, and they get embarrassed. They really got embarrassed. I mean, Kevin Jennings played an amazing game, and SMU played a lot better defense than they played all year. SMU lost earlier in the season to TCU and Baylor, who are not in the same caliber level as Arizona was this season. And then SMU beat them. So bowl games are weird, dude. There wasn't even too many opt-outs in those games either, so that's why it's crazy. I don't know. Weird. And as we speak, Illinois State is playing Montana State. I watched the first quarter and a half before pausing it to watch the rest. Some questionable calls in this game already. I'm not going to lie. There was a couple ones that got Montana State some points on the board already. I'm not sure if Illinois State's going to be able to come back, but we'll see. It's college football. Anything can happen, apparently, as we've seen this week with some of the weirder scenario games. But,
and they are the miracle team. You got to believe in the Birds.
If any team can do it, they can. They went on the road 4 separate games on different corners of the United States. They went to California, they went to like Virginia or something like that, Louisiana, and now they're in Nashville. Like they have been traveling all over the place.
You know, for an FCS school, their school's probably like, crap. How can we afford traveling all these places, man? Just lose already. Come on, get out.
Yeah, what are you guys doing, man? We can't afford this. They got to get some sort of incentive for winning these games, right?
Yeah. I mean, hopefully, to pay off for all that.
They better. There's got to be some sort of pot for them. All right. Well, let's get into our recap. Let's start with the lowest of lows for our third host, who is on a bye this week. It's not a good history for teams on buys. Am I right? The Sun Bowl, ASU versus Duke. Yeah, none of us, none of us picked Arizona State. Let's lead with that. I went to Arizona State. I graduated from Arizona State. Connor went to Arizona State. He's been a lifelong fan of them. Chance has heard about Arizona State from us a lot this season. None of us picked Arizona State because they have this quarterback named Jeff Sims who's playing right now. And he completely made us eat crow, really. I mean, I know his team lost, and he contributed to that with a pick in the last drive of the game. But that dude played his life out. Like that, he had his stat line at the end of that game. He was 27 of 38 for 375 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns, and 70 yards on 7 carries. He was averaging 10 yards a carry. Also, Raleek Brown opted out for that game, so they didn't have their starting running back either. And Jason Brown Jr. comes into the game, finishes with 134 yards on 13 carries. There was another ball carrier, there was another person running the ball, but those two guys averaged over 10 yards per carry, and we still lost to Duke. It's amazing. Like when you start looking at stat sheets just like that, you're like, wow, how do you perform that well and lose? And it's because at the end of the game, Arizona team did what Arizona teams do best, and that was choke in the stupidest of moments ever with the dumbest possible thing that could happen. Their defense held them on 4 downs, forced a turnover on Duke. The next play, the running back runs right up the middle, gets 10 yards down the field. It's already first down. Gets lifted off his legs, fumbles the ball, turns the ball over. Duke comes back, scores in like 2 plays. They're now ahead. Jeff Sims has to go put the team on his back to win it, and unfortunately, Jeff Sims learned what Arizona sports are like and threw an interception, and we lost. Truly tragic to be an Arizona sports fan in any team, truly. Like, we've been cursed since 2001 with the Diamondbacks, with the exception of the Phoenix Mercury, who have won a couple chips since then. We can't seem to get it done, even in the Sun Bowl. Apparently, we just can't have nice things. I don't know. It's truly tragic being an Arizona sports fan, but I don't know. I'll digress. Chance, what did you see from that game?
Well, first off, didn't Connor make a comment like, "Oh, Jeff Sims cost us the game" or something stupid like that? Mm-hmm. You know what? Jeff Sims has had a long, hard career. A lot of people are very critical of him. This year, though, he's played amazing. Like the guy's played his lights out. In my opinion, he has got better stats and maybe even played better than Sam Levitt. Granted, he hasn't won, right? But I mean, he's done everything that he can without Jordan Tyson, who's limping on the sideline somewhere, right? Raleek Brown's half in, half out, deciding if he wants to stay or whatnot. The guy didn't he have the most passing yards in Arizona State history or something like Rushing yards.
Yeah, as a quarterback.
Okay. I mean, I don't know.
He's literally in the Arizona
State. The blame.
He's literally in the Arizona State Hall of Fame.
He's in the Arizona State, and yet the fans hate him. Connor hates him. I don't get it. Like he's playing his hearts out.
I truly, when Connor sent that, because he watched it later, because he's been very busy, as you can see. But he literally texted that to the chat, and I forgot to respond right then. I went and did some other things. I came back. We got completely sidetracked by another conversation. Then I go, wait a minute. I was like, by the way, I scroll up, reply. I was like, why are you blaming Jeff Sims for this? I mean, I know he threw an interception, and that sucks. But at what point did we ever expect a second-string quarterback to put up 500 total, 450 total yards of offense and 5 touchdowns, and then lose the game because his running back fumbled the ball and because he was playing with second strings basically all throughout the whole game? The defense was decimated. The offense was decimated. Probably the only starters we had were on the offensive line, and they've been okay this year. Not great. I wouldn't even say good. Okay. Jeff Sims played his heart out, man. I wanted them. I picked Duke. I was totally fine with my record looking better for that, but I really wanted to see Jeff go out on top because that dude has gone through some shit on a ton of different teams, and he played his heart out. Like, he
He did.
deserved that win, but unfortunately, Arizona sports, man. Oh,
Can't have nice things.
I wanted to be like, Connor, did you actually watch the game or did you watch the cliff notes? I was like, Jeff played his heart out, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Shout
I
out to
just
Jeffrey Sims. He played amazing, man. I wish it could have gone differently, but you played great, man. I hope you end up on a decent team. And maybe get your chance in the NFL, man. You played your heart out, man.
You don't think you can get a waiver for an 8th, 9th year?
I don't know. Him and Trinidad Chambliss and Diego Pavia, yeah, and anyone else
Right.
who won. Shit. Fernando Mendoza might ask for one. Who knows? I don't even know what grounds they're claiming another year on. I really want to know the details of these things. Like, what's the claim? I don't know.
Anyway, that's my first note. My second note is running backs or the offensive scheme, Chase. Is this players or is this Dillingham being Dillingham? You said it. Jason Brown Jr. comes in and just rushes all over the place. Is this the offensive line? Is it running backs? Is it O-line? What do you think?
One thing I will say is they were playing Duke. Duke's
That's fair.
defense is not the greatest defense, but that dude was not getting snaps all year, and he comes in and puts up 134 yards. Like, that's coaching, and that's just we had some decent players doing that. I'm curious to see. I don't know. I don't know what year that kid is. I don't know if he's coming back next year. I have no idea. But I give some credit to Dillingham, but at the same time, he's lost quite a few games this year, so I can't give him too much credit either. So
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see because the ASU team, they're going to be a big question mark coming into next year. They just landed a guy today.
Colorado wide receiver.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. Is it Omari something? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Considered, according to ESPN, who has different ratings than everybody else, but number 2
number
wide
11.
receiver in the portal.
Number 11 total overall or something.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a solid get. I have questions about other things, like why did they bring in that
Cutter?
the Kentucky QB?
Cutter.
I don't get it. You got a 4-star coming in, Jake Fett, right? And then you got this guy. I understand you want depth, right? But you think you want an experienced QB to go with your freshman 4-star QB, not somebody who just coming off of not really a good season. Maybe he showed flashes. I didn't watch as much of him, admittedly, but his stats don't say, hey, this is a superstar. It shows, hey, this is a young kid that needs to learn. You don't want 2 of those QBs on your on your roster. You want an experienced guy and you want an up and coming young guy. I don't know. Dillingham, like you said, we'll see. 3rd season, maybe he knows what he's doing, but a little bit of a head scratcher for me there. I'm interested in seeing next year, though. Definitely going to be a year where we see, hey, the expectations aren't there. Let's see if they can make it some noise again. So, some other notes. Duke Mensah, he's coming back for another year.
I am so shocked to hear that, dude. Like, that dude has played amazingly all season, and he should be on a different team. I'm so shocked that they convinced him to stay, but good for him and his loyalty.
Here's some positives. He's an ACC champ. Somehow. Still can't believe that one, right? But he's an ACC champ. Imagine if Duke actually had a defense, which, again, last year, statistically, they were great. Again, I was thinking it would be sustained more. It was a lot of turnovers last year, which they didn't get this year. But imagine if Duke actually went all out, got a defense, and put a team around this kid. ACC has a lot of question marks going into next year. They could be up in there. So, I mean, he's going to have, even though Duke's not as talented of a team, he's going to have opportunity as much as any conference. If he let's say he went to LSU, he's going to have as much opportunity as Duke as LSU because of the competition, probably. So I don't know. Maybe Duke said, "Hey, we're gonna put some money around you. We're actually gonna go out and do this," and that's why I stayed. I I don't know. It'll be interesting to see though. I'd love to see Duke go in and invest for a defense though, because I if they've got him at the helm, they've got an opportunity. Because the guy's like you said, he's lights out. I'm all in on Mensah. Always have been.
Yeah, no, he has played amazingly this year. Like I said, the ACC is definitely an open door right now. I mean, the only team that I see being solid next year is Miami. Like they'll be good because they'll reload. They'll get a new quarterback. They'll reload. They might choke again and have a couple losses, and maybe they don't make the ACC championship again. I mean, they still haven't won the ACC ever, never. So there's definitely opening for another team like Virginia or Florida State if they get their shit together, or Clemson if they get their shit together, Duke. Um, there's other teams that could win it. I mean, even NC State or something could. I mean, that conference is so weird. Somehow it's weirder than the Big 12. But I see it. There's definitely an opening. But if you wanted to play with more talent on your team, transfer portal would have been where it was at for him. But he chose to stay. Good on him. So I respect it.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see, but I mean, definitely two teams from this bowl game, which the way that the bowl game ended probably represented a lot of their season, and what's going to happen moving forward is chaos. Who knows? Ups and downs. Pretty. The irony of it. Anyway, but we'll see. Both teams have potential going into next year, and also can land straight on their face. We'll see.
Yeah, the upside for Duke is that they won all the games that they needed to apparently this year. They won their conference. They won a bowl game. Yeah, they lost some what they thought were big games in their conference this year, but it didn't matter. And out of conference, especially out of conference, 3 games out of conference. But and then the upside,
UConn, man, they lost to UConn.
UConn, UConn, Illinois, and Tulane. Wow, and then somehow won the ACC. It's crazy. But they ended what was that 9 and was that 9-5?
9-5, yep, 9-5. ACC champs, baby.
That is a crazy record to see that someone played 14 games with that record. And then the upside for ASU is you guys were in this game to the very last moment with mostly second string players. Like Levitt was long gone, Raleek Brown was long gone, Jordan Tyson was long gone, and a lot more people on the defense and offense were not in that game. And you still competed. I really didn't think it was going to be that close. And you guys held control until that very end with that fumble. Just a little bit more ball security, and you guys had a bowl win against the ACC champions, and that would have meant something. So, but I am worried about next season because there's some Big 12 teams are seem to be loading up. Arizona State seems to be keeping some strides, getting some people, but I am really curious what they're going to do.
Well, I think the worry right now.
Go on.
I think the worry right now is, can they reload as much as they've lost? Because they've lost a ton. They're going to lose a ton of talent. So I just don't know if they can reload to that ability. And even what they had wasn't enough this season. So I don't know. It's tough going. Maybe if you believe in Dillingham enough, you can see it. But right now, it seems like kind of a middle of the pack. They're getting left behind a little bit from the top dogs.
If they get some experience on that offensive line, even with newer guys coming in for the skill positions, I think they really can compete. Because if they can dominate the line of scrimmage, they can make a running game work with pretty much any running back, and then it's easy for either Cutter or Fett or whoever ends up playing quarterback for our team next season to make the plays they need to. And the defense for ASU is always pretty solid. They're never terrible and they're never like really good, but they're always there. They always got some key guys. So I believe that he can do that. But we'll see. The Big 12 is obviously it's all over the place. It's bipolar. It's crazy. I do have one question for you. I was going to ask Connor, but he's not here today. Do you think that Dillingham should have left for his personal career? Do you think he should have left?
For his personal career? Yeah. I think that ASU doesn't have the resources or isn't a program that can help him reach his potential. But that doesn't mean that that's what he's looking for. He could be super happy. He could be looking at his legacy as, hey, I took over a program and took him from here to here, and that's how he has in his views, and his fans will love him. But if we're talking like, hey, I want to have an overall college football legacy, not an ASU legacy. I want to be closer to winning natties, better records, yada yada yada. That Michigan job was probably pretty enticing. Or he probably could or can have pickings of other jobs. He's a solid coach, so yeah. If he wanted accolades outside of ASU, just overall, I think so.
Yeah, I am. I'm curious how the fan base and ASU's like the general manager and all those people, the athletic director, how they are going to feel about him in a few years, because it's a different level. It's a different level, but for the Arizona Cardinals, they had some success for a few years with like Bruce Arians and whatnot, and even 1 year with Cliff Kingsbury, and then a new guy comes in after that guy leaves, and they were not patient at all. Like Steve Wilkes fired in 1 year. This Gannon we just fired. He was here for 3 years, so I get that. But we're on now. It'll be Dillingham's. Was it 4th year? Yeah, it'll be his 4th year. And if he goes downhill, even from I think they're 8-5 this season. If he goes downhill even more, is the fan base and are those people going to be patient with him, or are they going to turn coat on him? And then he loses a job. And then when this year he could have left and gone to Michigan and made a ton of money. And even if he failed, he would have had that backing. So
I think people are intelligent enough that I think actually the opposite is true, Chase. I think is everybody going to have the patience with ASU, the AD, and their administration that, hey, we need to go find the money to make it successful? Because I think fan base knows, Dillingham knows, there's talent there that you can't just replace that dude, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people understand that it's, can the money help him reach what ASU can be? Because honestly, that's where it's tapped. It's the money. Are you going to go get the kids? Or are you going to go get the talent because you got the coach? You're in a conference that you should be able to win. You should be able to compete with the top guy. ASU should be a top 4 or 5 program every year in the Big 12. But if they can't do that with Dillingham, who are they going to do it with? It's not going to happen. And so that's what the whole offseason was for me and Dillingham. Should I stay or should I go? I mean, he was like, is this school going to support me the way I need? I need money for my coordinators. I need money for my kids. And I think they stepped up a little bit, but I mean, he still went out in a press conference and said, hey, and we got a $7 million that they can inject to the program. We really need some donors. He publicly went out and asked for it because he's not getting it from the school. And so he needs some boosters to make sure he got money to keep his staff, which is an important, underrated part. You need good staff. So he at least got that out of his whole, should I stay, should I go thing. And I think that's what he wanted all along, but it's not going to be enough. So I don't know. That's just my opinion.
That's just what I'm worried about is that, it seems that way now that people understand, but in a few years, if maybe not next year, but a year after that, if it's 2 mid or bad years, because honestly, I'm worried about the talent in the Big 12 because Texas Tech's going to reload. BYU's going to reload. Utah, while they just had a mass exodus, they just did their private equity thing, so money shouldn't be an issue for them because they sold their souls. And there's other teams that are going to come back and compete too. I mean, TCU will probably be back in the conversation. Cincinnati's always a good program. They might take a year or two or something, but they'll be back. I don't know. And then Oklahoma State. I mean, they were terrible this year, but now they're North Texas North Texas now, and they played phenomenal with Mustamaker and I'm forgetting the running back's name, but they're basically pulling that whole team over there. So I think they're going to be scary too. Maybe not in year one, but year two, a junior Mustamaker and I think it's Caleb something. That's going to be a scary team. So I am worried about their competition and if they can keep up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm worried about ASU too.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's start with the first game of the playoffs that got me really excited for how these playoffs were going to go. Man, let's just quick flashback. It's October, and the top there are 4 undefeated teams left in the country: Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and I think there's one more team that I'm missing. Who am I missing?
The team.
Who am I missing?
Was it Miami at the time?
Didn't I just say them? Oh, wait.
No, you said Indiana, Ohio State, Texas A&M.
Duh. Wow, way to bury the lead there.
I thought you were doing a bit.
Oh, no, I just had a brain fart. It's been a long day. We'll edit that. Clip that, chat. Anyway, there are 4 teams that were undefeated at this point: Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and Miami. And Miami had just had 2 great wins against Texas A&M, Miami had just had 2 great wins. One against a ranked USF team that had just dominated Florida in the swamp. They beat Notre Dame, and they had some really blowout games, and they just looked the part. They looked amazing. Okay, they looked amazing. On the other hand, we had Ohio State, who hadn't played anybody yet. They played Texas, but Texas was struggling against UTSA and UTEP and Sam Houston and a ton of very low tier like Conference USA teams. So that didn't even look like a win. And I had the audacity to say that right now, head to head, their resumes, that Miami deserved the number 1 spot and Ohio State did not deserve the number 2 spot or 1 spot. They deserved the 3 spot behind Miami and Indiana.
You got a lot of heat for that.
I got a lot of heat for that. That's one of our most watched videos because it was a ton of Ohio State fans telling me that I'm an idiot. And to that I say, sometimes I am, but right now, and in that moment, I was not an idiot because the 2 teams that beat your sorry asses was Miami and Indiana. So how did that taste? No hardware this season. As a team that legitimately was talked about like they were the best team ever. Like they were so dominant that there was like no point even playing the rest of these games. They were so far ahead of everybody else, and that's how the media and everyone talked about them. Turns out playing a ton of nobodies all season doesn't help you get ready for the playoffs. So you had 2 whole ranked games all year against Texas and Michigan, your first and last game of the regular season. And then when the big lights hit you, you lost the Big Ten for the 5th year in a row and to Indiana, and then you lost your first playoff game of the year against Miami, who was so much less talented, right? Oh, poor Buckeye fans. You know, there's some good ones out there, so I feel for you guys. But the ones that were in here bookmarking me, waiting to talk shit to me all year, you didn't have much to say when I responded, did you? What happened? Oh, that was a great game, though. Before I rant for another hour, Chance, what did you see in this game? How did you feel about it?
So, I'm a little shocked that Miami won. I mean, we saw, again, middle of the season, me and you were on the same page. We felt like that was the number 1 team. They let us down in Miami fashion, and I'm surprised we did not see Miami pull a Miami, But, Miami's history is they don't win their own conference, but they can win championships. So who knows? Maybe this is their time to shine. This is how they do things.
Ohio State did last year. Haven't won the Big Ten in 5 years, but they won the Natty last year.
Yeah. I'm shocked at their defense, Chase. Their defense has played incredibly, really, really well. Besides covering Jeremiah Smith, who is just an absolute monster, by the way. He was lighting it up. I mean, if anything was going right for Ohio State, it was Jeremiah Smith. And you've got to do everything you can to keep that guy because that guy's got one more year at least in college football. He's an animal. But, man, Miami has me scratching my head and wondering, can they win it all? Are they the team? I honestly don't know. The line looks good. Carson Beck's not making terrible mistakes. The running game's working. That hasn't worked this whole season as well as it has in the playoffs. They're getting to the quarterback. I mean, Ruben Bain Jr. looks amazing, and his comrades on that defensive line look really good. So, I mean, they're peaking at the absolute right time, and there's no reason not to believe that they can't win the championship. Do I think they are? I have no idea, but I don't think anybody should doubt them anymore. They've definitely proven themselves. They've had probably the toughest schedule in the playoffs so far in Texas A&M, who I thought was a little bit overrated, but I mean, I don't think Ohio State's a slouch by any means. They're a really good team, and they handled them. They handled business.
Yeah, I don't know if Miami can win it all because I think there's a giant in the way of everyone right now. We'll see this next week. I could be wrong, but Indiana looks pretty scary. I'm not sure anybody can get past them, but we'll see if Oregon can do it. And we'll see whoever wins between Miami and Ole Miss next week. So I got asked, do you think that it was truly just Miami peaking at the right time, or do we think that Ohio State and the massive time between games and maybe their play calling changing because their coordinator, I guess Ryan Day took over calling the plays for the offense, or even was it Julian Sayin? What do you think? What do you think was the nail in the coffin for Ohio State in this game? Was it all Miami or was it some Ohio State?
Well, okay. My heart wants to say good teams don't let excuses get in the way or let something like a bye get in the way. You know, it should be extra time to prepare. They watched an extra game. They had tons of time to prepare for Miami. They have tons of time to rest up, be 100%, whatever. But what is it? 7 out of 8 teams now have lost after the bye. That's a significant number. That's you can't. It's a number you can't ignore. So you got to believe that has to do something with it. But I don't want to say it has everything to do with it. That hey, if you have a bye, unless you're the best team in the country or ever, you're going to lose. I think a little bit of that, and Miami. I think Miami just is it that they are peaking. I really do think so. I think again the parts that I had questions about, you know, the defense in its whole, if they're going to hold up, the running game, Carson Beck, they've all played their part. They played cohesive team ball. So I really do think that that Ohio State team was a monster. I'll be honest, that second half, I was peeing my pants because I thought for sure Ohio State was going to come back. That second half, Ohio State looked like themselves. The first half, they didn't. And maybe that's rust. Maybe that was shaking it off and they didn't have enough time to shake it off. I don't know. But they beat a dang good Ohio State team. I don't like to admit that. That's my personal opinion. I think they were really good, had the potential. But Miami's potential was just as good. That first half, they manhandled them. They did their job. All kudos to them.
Yeah, they are Ohio State gets to claim that they were the best team ever to bring absolutely nothing home. So they won.
Them and everybody else.
They were undefeated in the regular season, and then they lost the 2 games that meant the most. Maybe excluding your Michigan game because that's a big rivalry, but you got to see the best of both worlds, I guess. You either got the 1 year where you couldn't beat Michigan and you won it, or the other year where you did beat Michigan and then got nothing after that when losing the Big Ten and losing in not the first round, but your first game of the playoffs. So, which one felt better? Leave a comment in the chat and leave a comment. Which season did you enjoy more? This year beating Michigan or last year winning it. For me, I do think they were a great team. Obviously, I mean, you're not going to be ranked that high. That basically, what was it, 10 of the 12 weeks of the regular season, and not be a great team. They're obviously a great team, but the greatest, one of the greatest, no. I thought they were overrated from the beginning. I didn't think they deserved the number one rank until some other teams started choking away their resumes, like Miami did. But I think Indiana should have been ranked number one, and then Indiana proved it in the Big Ten, and then Ohio State didn't disprove it in the playoffs. So, but weird things happen. All right, moving on to another stunner. This one, I overlooked this game by a mile. If there was any game in the that I could have seen the underdog winning, it wasn't this one. I picked Miami to beat Ohio State, or in my bracket, I could totally have seen Miami beating Ohio State. I could have seen Oregon doing what they did to Texas Tech, maybe not in that manner, but upsetting them. Yeah, sure. And I definitely could have seen. No, I couldn't have seen Alabama. Well, I don't know. Probably wouldn't have seen that Alabama doing anything either. But this one, I really had I had no hope for Ole Miss. I truly thought Georgia was dominant as dominant could get. I thought their offense was what had been coming to life the last couple weeks. Just figured out what they were doing, knew their game plan, and we're just gonna ride on the defense and solid offensive performance. But Ole Miss came to play, and they really controlled that game for a lot of it. They came and they gained control towards the end, and they did not look back. I thought that they might miss that last kick just because of jitters or something like that. But dude, I was shocked, and as I'm sure a ton of Bulldogs fans and Rebels fans were in that game. That at the outcome of this game, man, chance.
It seems like, I mean, at least for me, Georgia had the most momentum going into the playoffs. They destroyed Alabama. Yeah, they struggled a little bit against Georgia Tech, but other than that, I mean, they had been rolling through their opponents, and they beat Ole Miss earlier in the season. So to have this result, I'm a little dumbfounded, especially at their offense, or maybe I'm dumbfounded at the Ole Miss defense. I don't know. I don't know which one stepped up or disappointed. Ole Miss, you don't have a defense. How did you do this? How are you doing this? I mean, that was incredible by their part. And I mean, obviously the offense is amazing. Trinidad just pulls stuff out of nowhere, right? Do you think this is? I mean, what do you think about the Lane Kiffin of this all? What it means to him, or what's the current coach's name again? I can't remember for Ole Miss. I can't remember his name either. I just had it on top of my head. Anyway, Is that a credit to him? Because he's still calling the defense, right? That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, his name is melding with like Pete Carroll's, so I'm forgetting what it is.
I'll look it up really quick.
Pete Golding. It's not Pete. It's Pete Golding.
Pete Golding. That's right.
And Charlie Weiss Jr. is the offensive coordinator that is going to LSU, but he's finishing the playoffs with them. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about Lane Kiffin myself, dude. That's gotta be a mixed emotions for him because it's mixed emotions for me. Like
is it mixed emotions for him though? Because he goes for an interview at LSU and then leaves halfway through the interview. Or no, he goes for an interview during the Ole Miss game, and then he just leaves halfway through. Or no, that was the LSU bowl game.
Yeah, when he came on, yeah, a lot of the coaches did that. Even who's the guy that's at Michigan now? Yeah, Kyle Whittingham. He did that in their bowl game as well. I think it's got to be a mixed bag because you got to be very happy for all the players that you brought in, that you helped bring in, that you helped get to where they need to be. You built this team with help. He's not the only one. You built this team, and they're making this push. But it's also got to feel kind of shitty. Like, did I make the right decision? Because they're now 2 games away from a national championship at Ole Miss, and this is arguably one of the easiest paths comparatively at this point. Like you might have to go through Indiana, and that's scary. But Miami, who has been inconsistent, this is Ole Miss's best shot they've ever had at anything like this, and you jumped ship. And I said he made the right decision before, but now I'm not so sure. When they pulled that game out, I was like, oh no, I think Lane might have made the wrong choice, man. But who knows if they would have won this game with him? I don't know. I'm truly dumbfounded at the result of this game.
Can I ask you a question, Chase? LSU is a top blank coaching program or place to coach at.
Top five.
Top
Yeah.
program, top blank program. How would you fill the blank?
I would say they're top five. Top five.
Top five?
4. Yeah.
Okay, I'd say top 5 to 10. I could see top 5. I can fluctuate with maybe some other programs. Top 5 to 10. How often does a top 5 to 10 program have a coaching availability?
This year, a lot apparently.
Well, look at the past couple of years too. So this year, you got Michigan, you got Florida, you got a couple of years ago, you had Alabama. So I guess the question is, if you wait one more year, you go and see if you can win the championship. And, by the way, odds are you could have reloaded maybe for the next year as well at Ole Miss. Do you still have that opportunity down the road, and you could have maybe won a natty, added something to it? Because that dude's going to have very few opportunities to win a natty. And maybe the best opportunity he had, he just left.
Might have.
He definitely has a chance at LSU, but I mean, LSU, we talked about it. It's about in this, about 2000. What 2000? Is it 4 or 6? When was their first championship?
2003, 2000.
Okay, 2003.
3, 7, and 19.
19.
And 53.
All right. Well, I mean, it's every so often. Is he gonna keep his job until that next championship arises? No, man. That's a tough one.
And
you know who's on the hot seat? I guarantee that he would love to have the job of. If Alabama does not perform next year, that job's opening up.
I don't know, man. Is Alabama still a good school to go to? Feels like they're still recruiting like crazy, but look at how they keep turning out, man. They keep disappointing. Like this is a four loss year. It's a 4-loss year. They arguably shouldn't have even been in the playoffs, and then they got embarrassed by historic.
Yeah, but he just went to LSU. You can't tell me that's not the same story at LSU.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, at first I was like, okay, I understand it, but I don't know. It feels really rough to be Lane Kiffin right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about for Lane Kiffin, man. I was saying that he might have made the wrong decision, but we're going to see in the coming weeks. I think this is like the worst moment for him right now is because he doesn't know if his team's going to perform next week or if he does, if they're going to get past either Oregon or Indiana because those teams are some big squads that have put in a lot of money this year as well. So,
all right, here's the next question for Lane Kiffin. How bad does it hurt or look if you can't get any of your former players?
If they lose right now, because if they win a national championship, why would they leave?
Yeah.
If they win a natty, why would they want to leave? I mean, you might as well play to run it back, unless LSU offers you a lot more money, I guess. But if they lose next week, if he doesn't get anybody, that would look pretty bad. Yep, that would look pretty bad, especially with the reputation he's built. That isn't great. But you know what you're getting when you get Lane. It's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. But if he's keeping, I mean, look at how great his offense is running with the coordinator that's coming with him. That feels good. Seeing what he's doing right now in the playoffs against Georgia and Tulane, who they destroyed. That's a good feeling to have him coming into LSU after our offensive season this season. That's a good feeling, and we'll get more players. So I'm hopeful in that regard. But if he doesn't pull anybody, he doesn't get Lacey. If Trinidad gets the opportunity to play next season and chooses Ole Miss, that kind of hurts. other players as well. But yeah,
We'll see. Yeah, big question marks. But yeah, back to the game itself. Crazy. I didn't see that coming. Not at all. Another question for you. If you're Georgia and you're looking at Gunnar Stockton, how do you feel about him?
I see Gunner as a solid quarterback. I don't see him as the guy that's going to make a huge difference. Him and Carson Beck are very different because Carson Beck's ceiling is through the roof. When he's making his plays, that dude looks like the first overall pick. And then he follows it up the next game by throwing 4 interceptions. So you're like, what is this guy? He looks like Jameis Winston on the Tampa Bay Bucks going, what was it? Was it 50 for 50 or 30 for 30? Touchdown interception. Literally completely equal. Like it's an exciting game, but it's also so infuriating to see that. For Gunner, he's not making as many mistakes, but he's also not making as many
Right.
amazing plays. So he's made some great plays. He's got a lot of grit. He's had grit last season when he was starting in the SEC championship against Texas, and this season as well. But he's now lost the two games he's played in the playoffs, and that's not a great feeling. It's not a great feeling for the whole team of Georgia, because I mean I'm looking at it right now. You had a bye last year. Last year, at least you had the excuse like, "Hey, our starting quarterback was out for the season. Gunner was playing his second game ever." This year, you don't have that excuse. You just lost under the big lights. You had the bye thing again, which other teams support that by losing as well. But what 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 gives you hope for next season? Because yes, I mean you're going to lose people like Zachariah Branch. They'll reload. Georgia's already doing well in recruiting and some transfer portal stuff. But what are they going to change next year that's going to keep them from basically a three-peat of disappointment of making the playoffs, winning the SEC, and then just not winning a game in the playoffs, losing at the first opportunity in the playoffs? What can they do to change that?
Well, in my mind, it's got to be Gunnar Stockton. That's got to be the answer. Is he going to play better next year? Is he going to be there next year? I imagine he is. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong because what's his bucket? Why am I forgetting his name? Their QB before Carson Beck.
Stetson Bennett.
Stetson Bennett. I mean, Stetson Bennett. he's revered by Georgia, but the fact is, Stetson Bennett was the ultimate guy who made a play when you needed him to, but was, he was a game manager. That's what he was. And that's kind of where I see Stetson Bennett. And so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they can put a team around him and he can be a Stetson Bennett for him. But I'm not getting that wow factor from Gunnar Stockton. He has some moments, but overall, I don't get it from him. And I think that's what they need to take the next step. If you're a Georgia fan, how hard is it to see Carson Beck, though? I mean, I don't know what exactly happened there. I have the feeling it was a mutual parting ways. Georgia wasn't fretting losing him, and he was like, fine, I'll show you what's up in Miami. And didn't look like it for a second, but now he's showing us what's up, Georgia. And that's got to sting, man. It almost came against his old team, too, that they did.
You could tell he won. They asked him after he beat Ohio State, they're like, how do you feel about who you might play? And he was like, well, you think about those things when you have time to think about those things. And then he avoided the question. But you're like, he wanted to play Georgia. He wanted to kick their ass. And now he doesn't even get the opportunity because Ole Miss did it for him. So, the drama could have been there. And Ole Miss made different drama. Still good drama.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, we'll see. Georgia's always going to be Georgia. Ole Miss has a chance to make a special season this season and next season. But guess we're going to have to see how the playoffs play out and then what happens to the portal.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Because before this, I didn't think Ole Miss had a shot at anything next season. But now they won another game. Dude, it'd be hard to not pull people to that school, even with the coaching change. Like that's a great look. So
Yeah, I think it all depends too on if Trinidad's going to be there.
Yeah.
Because he still needs to see if he can get his waiver. If he doesn't get his waiver, I think shit might sell. But if he can come back another year, I bet you he pulls a lot of people. A lot of people would want to play with that dude.
They kind of need him to be there next year because their backup transferred. So
Yeah,
the guy
exactly.
that started the year and then
hmm
I think got benched in that was it the
I I thought he got hurt, and then
oh yeah, he
Trinidad
got
came in.
hurt. He got hurt and Trinidad came in. And then he was healthy like a game later and they're like, "Nah, we're going to stick with Trinidad."
Yeah, which I mean, I feel for the what is it? It's is it Austin something Simmons is his name? He
Yeah.
was good. He was playing lights out before Trinidad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whoever I can't remember who landed him, but I expect some good things from him too. Because I mean, he was playing up to that level too.
It's a lesser version of Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Guy goes down, other guy comes in and makes plays. Or even was it Jalen Hurts didn't go down, but they benched him and Tua comes in and wins it.
Yeah. Or that one year where Ohio State had 5 QBs and they all were Heisman winners and
Yeah,
Cardell Jones
Braxton
and
Miller,
Braxton.
J.T. Barrett, and Cardell Jones.
Yeah. Jeez.
All were playing stellar, but just injury, and then Natty, crazy. All right, but moving on, Alabama versus Indiana. Wow, wow.
You
I don't
know
know.
what? You know what feels so good, Chase? There were so many national talking heads again, so many fans that really believed Alabama was going to beat them, that thought Indiana was crap. What in their minds thought that that was going to happen? I want to hear the realistic excuse on why Alabama was going to win that game. Indiana hasn't showed weakness nearly at all the whole season. Alabama limped into the postseason. They beat Oklahoma, who again I think was overrated. Um, and honestly, watching that Oklahoma game, they shouldn't have won. They kind of got lucky to win that game. So why they had no business playing Indiana winning, and Indiana embarrassed them. It wasn't even close, man. Um, you know what's the most embarrassing thing too for Alabama fans? He Nick Saban'd you. That's the most embarrassing thing.
Now you get to feel how it felt to be on the other side of that belt to ass that Nick Saban was handing out back in the day. That's exactly what it felt like, except it was on a bigger scale because it was the playoffs. And wow, was it very fun to watch. Like I think my dad texted me during that game. He's like, "Wow, boring game." And I was like, no game's boring when you're watching Alabama get their ass handed to them. Like, that's an exciting game. I was like, but also just to give Kalen DeBoer, just a little bit of credit. Nick Saban got blown out in the playoffs too. You remember Clemson in the national championship? They won
Yep.
by like 30. So it's not the first time Alabama's taken a belt to ass moment, but it is not a good look. Yeah, you should be very fortunate. You guys you went to Norman, you beat Oklahoma, you won a playoff game. It's better to be 1-1 than 0-1. So you made it further than anybody thought, but that was embarrassing. So if Indiana plays it close with Oregon next week, or beats them, and then plays it really close with either Ole Miss or Miami, that is not a good look for Bama. Unless Indiana just dog walks everybody the rest of the way, Bama's got no excuses for how bad that was, because that was pathetic. I mean, even their defense just looked outclassed in every way, and this is a defense that looked really good for the most part all year. And they just looked like, I mean, even the announcers were like, these guys are just here. Nobody's making any plays. They're just existing. I was like, yeah, they're existing and getting destroyed. It's pathetic. But uh, I do kind of feel for Ty Simpson, because that dude had an amazing year of being the only thing on his offense that was being consistently good. Like, his offensive line was suspect. Like, it was probably maybe slightly above average offensive line. Uh, Definitely some holes there. Running game was non-existent all year. Just absolutely, it was just Ty Simpson and the wide receivers who were constantly dropping the ball in all their games. They actually did. They didn't have too many drops in this Indiana game, but it didn't matter because Indiana just thumped them. But Ty Simpson truly played his heart out. Good on him. It did feel kind of bad seeing him get benched for the other guy, but man, boy, have the tides turned. I mean, tables turned.
Question, Indiana, because you're really scared of Indiana. We've had some conversations. You're terrified of them. In your opinion, and I have my own, what makes Indiana so good? Are they lucky that they found Fernando Mendoza and he's just tearing it apart? I mean, what is it?
It's Signetti, dude. I know they have a lot of their players are older players, right? They're all in their like fifth year, fourth year, sixth year. Lots of weird eligibility with this team, so they got a lot of maturity, more maturity than you'd have with like 19 and 20-year-olds. But Signetti, like you saw him on those plays when Alabama came 2 times. They tried to force him to jump off sides, and Signetti just like it's not happening, dude. It's not happening. And he just looked so disappointed that the defense would even try. He's like, that's pathetic. Like, how do you not crack a smile in that moment? I'd be grinning so hard after that, but he did not. He has not once smiled, like, ever. That's what terrifies me, is that dude is probably a psychopath, butting straight from Nick Saban's tree, and I don't want to see another Nick Saban on a team that I'm not cheering for. Like, good on you, Indiana, for signing him. I was wondering how it was going to turn out, and obviously there's still 2 games to go. But truly, the only team right now that is scaring me, like that looks like it could be a dynasty, is Indiana, and it terrifies me, and it should terrify anybody that has to play this team because these are 3 and 4 stars, man. Like he's making them look so
They're
much
not
better.
4 stars. They're like 2 and 3 stars.
Yeah, he's not playing with like the creme de la creme. He's made players better, made them more disciplined, made them believe, and it's worked. Like there's been no real weakness shown, except maybe you could argue that Penn State game or the Iowa game where they kept it close. Penn State was playing out of their mind that game. They had a ton of talent on that team. They just underperformed and fell apart, lost their coach. And then Iowa's got a good defense, clearly, as we've seen. But I guess on the road is scary, but they don't got to play road games. They got neutral field games all the rest of the way. So I don't know. This team is giving me Saban vibes, Saban Alabama vibes, and I don't like it. So I am okay with them winning this year. If they look this good next year and years after that, I'm gonna hate college football. I'm gonna hate it, and everyone in the Big Ten should hate it too because they're gonna be embarrassing you guys, and it's gonna be sad. So
yeah, I mean unfortunately, Kurt Signetti definitely has Emperor Palpatine vibes to him for sure. That he's gonna create an empire and just rule it, right? And what worse conference than the Big Ten to do it? Yeah, exactly. You won't crack a smile. Yeah, I can strike you from anywhere. For sure, I could see that. Connor said something before the season started, and we laughed at him. And I don't know if it's 100% still true, but I'm going to give him a little bit of credit. He said, leadership means so much more than what you think, yada, yada. We need to look at leadership instead of talent. And I still think talent goes a long way. But, and I don't know if it's 100% like leadership. Because I think there's a lot of good leadership that doesn't win. You know, I look at Kenny Dillingham. Those kids love to play for Kenny Dillingham, right? I think he has some good leadership skills. People love him. And yet he doesn't have the season that Indiana's had.
Ed Orgeron. Dudes love
Ed Orgeron, yeah.
And they had the best season ever, but that wasn't just Orgeron. He had minds around him that made that offense work. And Joe Burrow was one of them, Steve Eichmeyer. And
yeah, and I mean, some people hate this dude, some people love him. I think like Dabo Sweeney, his players love him. It's still one of the best, end of game speeches this year when his team is struggling. To hear him, I was like, dang, man, it got me a little tear in the eye. But there's something that Saban pointed out about Indiana's team. He said, I have never seen a team execute the way that Indiana executes. And that's the key to their team, is they execute like nobody else in the country executes. They know their roles, they know their positions, they trust each other, they do not get out of it. They play sound fundamental football. That's it. Period. And the scary thing about Nick Saban year in, year out is he got the top of the top crop talent, and his teams did that. Curt Cignetti doesn't have that right now, and he's accomplishing it because of that. If you've seen the portal so far, Chase, you've seen Indiana starting to get those players. And I think Indiana's administration and the state of Indiana, they're going to start boosting those dollars. They're going to start getting him that team, right? If he can find those players that are going to be disciplined, that are going to do their roles, not jump out of it, and play the game, you might be right. It might be game over for everybody. And that's a scary thought. Very scary. And I think it's underrated and people don't see it or recognize it. How many times a star player will go for the star tackle, the star sack, the star play, and it costs their team because they're supposed to be in a certain position. They broke that position to make that star play happen. And then, you let up this play because of that. And then your teammate gets mad. He wants to do something, and it's a ripple effect. Or you're going for the star big run as a running back. You let loose the football a little bit, you fumble. You've seen that time after time again at ASU this year, Burley Brown
and then last game was Jason Brown.
Exactly. Thing is, that doesn't happen with Indiana. And that's why, in my opinion, they're so good. And there's no game planning for that. They're going to you've got to have your star talent just be absolutely bonkers. And we've seen maybe the most talented team in the country, Ohio State, come up short because they're just so sound. You're not going to beat them by being more sound than them. They're gonna play their assignments better than you play your assignments. So you better get lucky to beat this team. I don't know. They've got to be everybody's favorites at this point, but that Oregon team also did something pretty incredible this last week. So I'm interested in how this game goes.
What about for Alabama? Do you think they need to panic? Do you think Bama fans need to panic? Because this is
I think they're already panicking. They're used to a certain level of success, and Kalen DeBoer was this guy who came in. And it's like, oh, he's only lost 4 times in his whole career, and this and this and this, and then he loses that in one season, and then he loses that again in the next season. What do you have to hang your hats on? Like what? Yes, you're getting talent, but like, what talent is going to substitute? You had talent. You have Ryan Williams. What happened to that dude? Where is that dude?
Dropping passes.
Yeah, you had Ty Simpson. Who are you going to upgrade at QB? Is he going to do better next year somehow? I mean, you can upgrade at running back. I'll give you that. But you were supposed to have the defense. It was supposed to be you guys, and it wasn't. So it's not about, he didn't have talent. It's not about this or that. There's something wrong. And I do think you should be worried, to be honest. If you hold a certain level of standards, this was almost the second year, and maybe it should have been that Alabama didn't make the playoffs. Just saying.
Also, if not for COVID and COVID year, we're getting close to a whole decade without an Alabama championship. Because before that, it was 2017 was their last championship. 2020, I don't count. I think it was a joke of a year for college football. But, I mean, most teams were playing 5 or 6 games. But they won. They got that. But some people don't look at that so fondly. 2017 is the year before the last time they won a true championship in my mind. So you're almost a decade away from that. Nick Saban's not coming back. You're it's not looking great. You're still recruiting really well, and the name Alabama's still carrying you right now. But how long will that last before the kids growing up right now aren't growing up hearing about Alabama dominance anymore? So how long is that going to last?
You know what's so funny to me is nobody wanted that Alabama job. A bunch of people turned it down. Kalen DeBoer was the only one who stepped up, who wanted it. And next year, in my mind, it's do or go home. I mean, if he has another season like this season, fringe playoff to no playoffs, he's out. Alabama's not going to tolerate that. Are you going to have a bunch of people lining up that want that job again? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Is it as luxurious? Is it the number one job in the country anymore? I don't know. Lots of question marks. Now, that being said, they have every capability to go in and be the best team in the country and do it again. But it just seems like the hill this time is a lot steeper to climb, Chase.
I don't know. If they figure out their running game and Ty Simpson improves,
Ryan Williams shows up.
then maybe I could see it. If Ryan Williams even stays there, there were some things that he might enter the transfer portal at some point, but maybe not. Um, I I don't know if I would jump ship on DeBoer just yet. I mean, he got you here. You probably shouldn't have even made it this year, and you still got it. I think the difference between what you just said, nobody wanted the job, Kalen came in, that's because it was literally following Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Now you're
I,
not following Nick Saban, so I think people will want this job when Kalen DeBoer is off the table. But yeah, I wouldn't.
I,
I
I,
wouldn't want
my,
to be the guy to follow Nick Saban either. So
my argument is, and I agree with you, nobody wanted the job because they didn't want to follow Nick Saban. But do you want to follow a program that Alabama almost made it to the playoffs? Then they made it to the playoffs. And if they don't make the playoffs next year and they fire their coach, your expectations are sky high. You sure you want to take that job? I mean, it can do or break your career just as much as anything if you take that job. Lane Kiffin can take that job and be fired in 2 years. It's a scary proposition. So yes, I understand it was Nick Saban, but I think there's a different element of, oof, is that really good for my career? That it could sink my career. I could be a Chip Kelly. We were just talking about him. You remember Chip Kelly, who used to be that guy at Oregon, then went to the Eagles, and now he's at Northwestern. He's getting fired from every job. He does well at one job, gets fired from another. I mean, that could be your career if you don't do well at Alabama.
he was terrible at UCLA. It was horrible.
He was terrible, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That was crazy to me for him, but people did kind of figure out his offense a little bit better, though. To be fair.
Well, he did well at Ohio State.
Yeah. Everybody was doing well at Ohio State.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to our last playoff game. You seem to be antsy to talk about this one.
No, I don't want to talk about this one. We can just end right here. I'm so disappointed.
The Oregon Ducks dominated, embarrassed, mollywopped the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Wow. That's pathetic. I really wanted Connor to be here for this part. Is Texas Tech cursed? They played their hearts out all year, dropping 70 bombs, 50 bombs, 30 bombs, as I've said millions, like 3 times a day. And then push comes to shove. It's your first playoff game, and you can't even put up points. You get shut out by the Ducks, which the Ducks are a better defense now, but oh man. That's embarrassing.
It was embarrassing. It's not a good look for the Big 12, who had a terrible week. Terrible week. I'm worried about the Big 12, to be honest, because your best team, who blew out every single team, blew out twice the second best team in the Big 12, goes into the playoffs and gets mollywopped, destroyed. Didn't put up a fight. It's scary. Um, there are some positives, I think, that can happen, and some positive takeaways. Instead of going too much into Tech right now, I'll go to them in a second. I want to give Oregon their flowers, because, man, they looked good. And if there's anybody who's got momentum going into the evil empire possibly coming up, it's going to be Oregon. They didn't show this, or we didn't think this was going to happen, and maybe we should have. It's almost the opposite of last season, right? Where they absolutely dominated everybody, and then they laid an egg in their last couple of games. This year, I mean, Oregon kind of limped in some games. They played well, but they weren't. I mean, they lost to Indiana on the road, so nobody was expecting this necessarily. A lot of experts had them winning, and they guessed correctly. But that's crazy. That was the second most explosive offense in the country, and it wasn't even close. You embarrassed them. I don't even know what what Tech threw at them, but they look good. Oregon looks really, really good, both sides of the ball.
Dude, Texas Tech's defense played nearly perfect, but they kept getting put in these horrible, horrible positions, and Oregon kept capitalizing. Like, holding Oregon to 20 points is not a that's not a bad defensive output. It's the fact that you couldn't score anything when
Yeah.
you've
Oh,
been
I mean,
scoring all year.
when your defense is put in bad positions, when they're on the field the whole entire game because your offense can't do anything, giving up 20 points, that's a miracle. That's a dang good game. It's not the defensive fault at all. I mean, they'll probably blame themselves or say so, but it's all on the offense. That is what it is. It was all on the offense. I personally had a little bit of bias, obviously, going in thinking, Tech was this. Had a little bit of worry about their offense deep down, that it was maybe a little gimmicky, because yes, they put up all these points, and yes, they did this and that, X, Y, and Z, but Morton was a little shaky, and it was these huge explosive plays that ran up the scoreboard. It wasn't consistent good offense that could get each third down, that can drive the field. When you have a team that, like Oregon, that was able to figure that out, not give up those big plays, that's what happens. And so that hurts. That hurts. Expose them. Lesson learned for Tech. Lesson learned for me. There's some gimmicky stuff that good teams will not let happen. Oregon did not let that happen. So kudos to them.
Yeah, I really want, once again, with a lot of these games, as we've pointed out, teams are 1-7 after a bye. I really want to say it's because they had a massive 3-week span between games, and they came out rusty, and their offense was already the questionable part of the team was the offense, and then they come out rusty, so they can't put up anything. I feel like that's got to contribute. While Oregon got to go and basically practice against a solid JMU squad, but with lesser stakes than a game against a Power Four conference, because everybody's always like, "Oh, they're a threat, they're a threat," but coming against a G5 opponent, nobody really takes them seriously. So it probably felt comfortable for them going into both of these games. Texas Tech had to be very uncomfortable because it's their first playoff game ever, and this is their first real, I guess, test of the year. And clearly they weren't ready for it. So I don't know what really did them in at the end of it, but Been a weird year.
Weird year. I'll say this again. For Tech, there's two ways of taking this. That really sucked. Again, Big 12, I'm a little worried about you. The portal has treated the Big 12 in a good and bad way. But if you're Tech, a lot of people are like, man, you spent all that money and this is what you got. No. Here's what happened. You spent all your money, you got that far, and now you know what Tech's going to do? They're going to look at that and be like, oh. They looked at last year. Their offense did really, really well last year, and their defense was one of the worst defenses in the country. You know what they did? They spent a bajillion dollars. They went after all these defensive players and said, that's not going to happen again. They created one of the best defenses in the country. This next year, you've got to bet they're going to look at that and they're like, we're not going to have an offense that does that again. Is never ever going to do that again. They already got Sorsby, they've already got their running back. They're going to go attack that offense like nobody's business. My only worry is they might overcompensate and not look at the defense because they're going to lose some guys. They got to reload. But if you look at the portal so far, Chase, they've already got some dudes on defense. So
San Diego State defensive end. That's a big
yeah.
one.
They got Kansas State, one of Kansas State's
linebacker.
Yeah, he's a good player. So I mean, I don't know. This isn't dang what could have been. This is the stepping stone for Texas Tech on. All right, well, we got to the playoffs. Next step is Natty, or next step is, hey, we're getting into the semifinals. They're gonna reload harder than ever next year. Honestly, I wish they played somebody, but they don't. They avoid BYU. They avoid ASU. Seems like it's going to be an easy trip to the Big 12 championship. Utah's got to have to recover from what just happened. I think Utah's going to be a good team. I don't expect them to be Utah this year. They're going to embarrass some more people. They're going to come away madder than ever. And don't be surprised if, again, they find themselves in this position, and they won't let this happen again.
Well, all right. Do you have any stocks?
I do not this week. It's hard when you got 4 games. Well, I guess we have more, but I'll give you one. I don't know how USC blew that game.
Oh man, I was shocked. That was a really fun game to watch.
Yeah,
good on TCU for winning that. When they won that game, I actually had high hopes for what the Big 12 was going to do because the Big 12, I think they were like 4-0 at that point, and then they lost 4 in a row with ASU, Arizona, Cincinnati, and Texas Tech, which are 4 of their better programs, all late in. Was it? Oh, Utah and BYU won their games, and everyone else disappointed. So,
yeah, maybe stock down on the Big 12.
Yeah,
so we can have that.
There you go. I got one. We've already alluded to it, mentioned it multiple times. Stock down. First round buys. What are we? 1-7 in the last 2 years in the playoffs. How much does a massive gap in play contribute? Does the scheduling need to be changed? I think it does. I think you brought it up at the beginning of the season. I didn't remember, but you brought it up at the beginning of the season. If they start week 0, start the game, and then don't have this Army-Navy game on its own, and they don't allow the NFL to monopolize Saturdays towards the playoffs for some reason, then we could have a more cohesive scheduling. And then they need to fix some stuff with obviously the recruitment schedules and whatnot. But there's a lot to fix that I think could really make things make sense. But people are going to complain about anything every year. So there's always going to be something that could have contributed. But I do feel like going 20 days between your team playing is going to matter as opposed to 10. So.
Chase, I'm about to challenge you, and you're not going to like it.
Oh, God.
You ready? Okay, you ready? We might fight on this one. We really might. I'll throw in some possible solutions. Yes, the scheduling. last year, I think, was a little bit more fluky than this year. You had ASU, who wasn't supposed to be a 4 seed, but became a 4 seed
The auto bids.
and got robbed, absolutely
Yeah.
robbed, from a non-ASU fan. He absolutely robbed. You had Georgia, who was missing their QB. So you had some weird stuff. Oregon, yes, was a 1 seed, but that Ohio State team shouldn't have fallen to where they did. They losing to Michigan was inexcusable. If
Yeah,
they didn't lose to Michigan, yeah, they should have been a top 4 team
they
in
would
my
have been
opinion.
the 5 seed if they hadn't lost to Michigan.
You think? Maybe. I don't know. So there's some of that, but this year, I don't think there are flukes. I think it played out how it was supposed to play out. There's nothing about it. So a couple of things I'm going to throw at you. Does this prove that the 12-team playoff is working, or do you still have your opinion about the top 4?
On that logic chance, if you extended it to 56 teams, there's going to be an upset here and there every year. And yeah, things can happen. But if Indiana wins this year, it basically completely nullifies all of that and says, "Oh, well, it still
Ohio
was."
State won last year.
They really, they really shouldn't have gotten the chance to. It was truly a safety net situation with. I don't think that an Ohio State team that loses to Michigan and to Oregon in the regular season doesn't make their conference championship deserves the chance. But I can see the argument for an 8-team playoff, but we shouldn't have jumped to 12. As entertaining as some of these games have been, I truly think that at the end of the day, the whole purpose of them was to be a safety net for bigger teams, bigger brands, to make the playoff every year and then make the money off their fan bases because they have a shit ton of fandom, a shit ton of fans who are willing to invest a ton of money. So I don't like that being the thing. I think a team that plays their hearts out in the regular season and is in the top 4 position or the top 8 position deserves to not have to play that team again. I don't think that they should have to rematch them, but
Yeah, I don't share that opinion. That's okay. I understand your arguments, and maybe you'll understand mine, but not agree with mine as well. In the NBA, when the Golden State Warriors had their dynasty, there were a lot of NBA teams that just they didn't invest. They didn't want to because what was the point? Golden State's going to win every single year. Then, the cap changes happened. Teams got older. They got too expensive, yada, yada, yada. And everybody rushed. They said, this is our chance. We can finally win. And then all of a sudden you saw some teams that never had won before got really close or won it. You had the Suns. You had Milwaukee. You had Denver. You had a lot more parity or a lot less parity, more parity in the NBA than before. When you open up the playoffs to more teams, I think a lot of teams, and in combination with the NIL, being able to spend more on players and a more even field, even though there's a lot of flaws in it, I think you saw a lot of teams say, hey, there's a door that's open. We finally might be able to make this door happen. And you saw a lot of teams pulling away this talent from Alabama. They no longer can beat you with their stringers, their third stringers being better than your first stringers because that talent's going elsewhere. People are paying that money. They believe in them. They're developing that talent. And so these top end teams, unless you're Signetti and you're the evil empire and you know how to freaking get your guys to do every single thing that they're supposed to, and there's no gaps, whatever, in your team. There's opportunities for any team to beat any team. So I do believe that there are more teams now than ever that can win the championship. There's also merit that comes into it. And I'm a big believer in merit. You shouldn't be able to just get in the playoffs because people believe that you can win, even if that's the case. My example this year is Miami. I am a fringe. Maybe Miami should have made it. Maybe they shouldn't have. I believe that some teams had a little bit more merit. I'm not talking about Notre Dame. Shut up, Notre Dame fans. You are delusional. But Miami made it. And I can see how they made it, and I'm okay with it. And obviously, they show that they have the potential to win the championship. But not every team that has the merit to make the playoffs. So I get that standpoint as well. But I think there's just more teams now because of the NIL and the nature of it. They're spending more money that can win the championship, and it makes it more fun, in my opinion. The second thing to that is basketball is a little different from football. I think there's less upsets in football because you have to be more sound. There's more players in there, but there can be upsets, and that's kind of the fun part of a playoff, especially in the bracket. BC, there's no way that they're going to win the championship. None. No whatsoever. But can a 16 seed beat a 1 seed that can win a championship? Yeah. Is it fun to see that happen? Yeah, it's fun. So there's that aspect of it too. So I don't know. I just think fans and teams are getting more excited, and it's bringing football a little bit closer together versus Alabama winning every year, my opinion. So whether you agree with that or not, that's fine. That's just my opinion. I'll throw one more out at you, Chase, for the scheduling part. You think that the bye or the timing of it is killing these playoff teams. What if you threw four more teams in there and they have to play them? Would that solve it for you?
So you want a 16-team playoff with no buys?
I think it's going there, and that might resolve your first round bye stuff.
And as I have said before, I don't want expansion. It's a safety net. You just said you don't want to see Bama win every year. This is an opportunity for the Bamas, the Ohio States, the Notre Dames to constantly get in when they don't really deserve it. So
I think it makes it harder for them to win, though, because they have to win more games. Whoever wins the championship, it becomes harder to win a championship within expanded playoffs.
It would have been a lot harder for Ohio State to win last year if it wasn't expanded because they wouldn't have made it.
That's fair. Fair point.
To point off of your basketball one, because I was confused for a second. I was like, it's a lot easier for there to be upsets in football than basketball. But then you said it was college for basketball. I was like, okay. I thought you meant playoff NBA. I was like, because they got best of
seven. No, college basketball. It's a lot. And just the game of basketball is easier to upset, just because one person can be on fire, one person can be off, and that's your game, right? But football is 11 people on the field for each team. It's hard for a whole team to be off or on. There's more assignments. Certainly, there can be fumbles, interceptions, missed assignments that cause a game, but a lot less than basketball in general.
But for basketball, and that reference that you brought up with the Warriors and whatnot, excluding Kevin Durant specifically, all of those teams that you were naming they drafted all of those players. The Suns, those were all draftees. The Bucks, most of them were draftees except for like Drew Holiday. The Denver Nuggets, Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., all those guys, those were draftees. It wasn't as much of this like free market that we got going right now where we're just going to go poach the best players from the G5 and the Big 12 and the ACC and bring them to the Big 10 and do what's been going on with the transfer portal. So, it is showing some I feel like it's showing some more parity right now. I don't think that's going to be the way it turns into.
And again, just my opinion, I don't think anybody knew what NIL was going to do. Mm-hmm. And I still don't think anybody knows how the future is going to hold. I'll make that clear. But in my mind, which is probably incorrect, I think it's going to bring more parity between the Power 4 schools, and the Group of 5 is going to be left in the dust, which is really unfortunate. That's where you're going to pull a lot of the talent, and there's just, the G5 is going to be how you grow the talent, and there might be a team or two that has a decent team, but they won't have a full team or as much enough talent, and they're just going to get plucked every year. And then Tulane's job is to try and pluck the G5's talent as much as they can so that they can get plucked the next year to go to the P4s.
I mean, that's kind of what's happening with some of the Big 12 teams, too, is they're plucking from the G5, and then the SEC and the Big 10 are plucking from them, or other Big 12 schools. Obviously,
that's one reason why I'm worried about the Big 12. You look at coaches got poached, a bunch of players got poached. There are a few programs that I think will hold up the conference, but the bottom dwellers, the mid dwellers, Kansas State looks like they are in a terrible situation. I feel bad for them. But there's some up and coming teams. I mean, Tech, obviously. You got BYU, who I think they're going to hold their own. Utah's in a scary place right now, but they'll figure it out. I think Houston's up and coming. I got high hopes for Houston. I hope Connor watches this part of the segment because he hates that team for no reason. And maybe ASU is a fringe team we got to see. But other than that, the other teams, yeah, it's going to be scary.
The recruiting ratings are not looking that great right now, so we'll see.
It depends on the team.
Arizona's ahead of ASU
on the recruiting rankings.
Yeah,
I'm worried about ASU.
I think ASU is like 5th or 6th in the Big 12, so it's not a good look.
But I mean, BYU just had their best ever. Tech is doing well. Utah does okay. I think Baylor's doing okay too. And then Colorado's obviously what's actually going to happen there. But yeah, your Kansas schools, your Iowa States. We'll see what happens to Oklahoma State. Thankfully, they turned something around, did the right thing. But yeah, it's a scary place right now for sure.
All right. Well, with that, that's got to be the end of the segment. So on to the next episode, right?
On to next.
All right. This has been the Concussion Protocol Podcast. Once again, appreciate you guys being here and tuning in every week or whenever you have time. Feel free to smash that like button, leave a comment about what you think the state of college football is and what you think it should be, how you feel about Indiana, Oregon, Ole Miss, and Miami being the last 4 teams in this playoff and what you think is going to happen. And just let us know your thoughts. Share, comment. We appreciate you guys. It's been definitely interesting holiday season and the end of the holiday season with how busy each of us has been. Obviously, I missed a week, Chance missed a week, and Connor's been very busy. So getting uploads every week has been a bit difficult, but we've done it and we've had some good support during that. So we appreciate you guys so much for it. So
thanks. I want to fans for one more thing, just out of my own personal curiosity. I wanted them to tell us what they think about the playoffs. About, did we expand it too fast? Should we expand it? I'm just curious on overall everybody's feelings because I don't think I've heard enough on if people like it, they don't like it, like where it's going, don't like where it's going. I think there's solid arguments for both. Chase, I think you had some very solid arguments. So I'd like to hear from everybody else.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Love to hear that from you guys as well. So let us know. And we'll see you soon. This has been the Concussion Protocol Podcast. Bye, Mom. We'll talk to you guys later.